The episode you're about to hear discusses a real criminal investigation involving sensitive subject matter. Viewer discretion is advised. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the This Baby Gal podcast. On my platform, I do social commentary and reaction videos. I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. I want you to take a look at the footage on your screen. This is ring camera footage of 19-year-old Dacara Thompson. And sadly, this is the last time that we will see her alive. Her story is one that grabbed national headlines ever since she went missing back in August. And sadly, her body was discovered in September, thrown over a bridge. Now, the man whom police believe committed this heinous crime is Hugo Hernandez-Mendez, and he's an undocumented migrant from Guatemala. As many of you know, I live in Washington, D.C., and this crime took place in Maryland, our neighbor. So naturally, a lot of D.C. residents were gripped by this story and definitely had an interest. A lot of people were hoping and praying that Dacara would have been found alive. Sadly, she was not. Now, before I go any further, I want to again advise you that the details of this case are extremely disturbing. So I am advising you, if this is not your thing, if you don't want to hear these disturbing details, please do not watch this video. Do not watch this video. Also, this is a very fresh story. Dacara's body was just discovered a few days ago. Her family is still reeling from this tragedy. We're dealing with real people and real live emotions. So I'm going to be very careful in how I talk about this story. And I'm going to talk about it in a way that I would be okay if somebody were talking about my own family member. But I also have to say to you all that I am a social commentator and I have a responsibility, a duty to have difficult conversations with my audience, which means asking questions that a lot of people might find distasteful. But it's not to hurt anyone and it's not to victim blame. It's just I have a sensible audience who's asking these questions themselves. I'm asking certain questions myself, and I'm not going to not have these conversations. I'm not going to not ask the questions, okay? I know sometimes you have commentators who are very afraid to say certain things because people naturally default to, oh, you're victim blaming. That's not what this is about. What happened to Dacara should have never happened. She was a baby, 19 years old, legally an adult, but she was a baby. And so I'm not in any way saying that what she got, she deserved at all. But we are going to have a real conversation. So if that is something that triggers you, if that is something that you don't want to explore at this time because it's too fresh for you, again, I'm going to ask that you not watch this video. Please sit with this moment and come back later on when you're in a better headspace to process it. That's what I will say. So with that being said, let's just get right into the video. So the first question is, who is Dacara Thompson? Who is this man whom police believe killed her? And how did they know each other? How did they get together? Why did she, at 3 o'clock in the morning, decide to meet with this man? What was their connection? So it was just after 3 a.m. when 19-year-old Dacara Thompson texted her father. And this was her text. I got gas and I'm out. I should be back soon. I love you. Good night. But Dacara never came home. So what began as a quiet summer night in Maryland quickly unraveled into a disturbing investigation. So Dacara was a 19-year-old girl, recent graduate of St. Charles High School, had a lot of plans, a lot of energy, full of life, ready for the next chapter of her life. And according to reports, Dacara had just started volunteering in Maryland's Service Year program. But on the night of August 22nd, she left her father's home in Lanham, Maryland, and said that she needed to get gas. And this was around 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, Dacara and her father started texting back and forth, and nothing seemed to be unusual. But sometime between that message and sunrise, something went terribly wrong. So Dakara's father said that he woke up and he started searching the house, and that's when he realized that his daughter had not come home. So he knew immediately that something was off. So now we're at August 23rd. This is the following day, and that's the day when her family reported her missing. But surveillance footage provided the key break in this story. Now, police got involved, and that's when they found her car. It was a white Ford Edge that was abandoned in Hyattsville. This was very telling for me, and if you look at the surveillance footage, I'm going to put it on the screen. Dacara parks her car in a completely different direction from the other cars. Now, I understand from some Maryland residents that that's not unusual. Sometimes people do that, right? But she also parked in front of a fire hydrant, and a lot of people don't do that. Now, this was early in the morning, the early hours, so she might have figured, listen, cops aren't going to be around. I can just park my car here and just kind of walk off for a minute. And you'll also see that she turns around and she puts her alarm on her car, and then she walks off. She doesn't appear to be stumbling. She doesn't appear to be intoxicated in any way. She seems very sure-footed as she's walking away. And we later learned that she took her phone with her and her keys. She left her purse and everything else inside of her car. And for me, what that says is that she clearly didn't think she was going to be gone very long, because most women are not going to leave their valuables. They might risk it to run in a store. They might risk it to just hop out of their car for a split second, but they're not going to leave their valuables and just go somewhere else for a very long time. But she walks up to this car that we now know was owned by her alleged attacker, and she leaves with him, leaving her car there in Hyattsville. She approached the passenger window. The two of them were conversing, and then she willingly got inside of this car. Now, remember now, she left her car there. She put the alarm on, but her valuables were still inside of that car. And that was the last time that we saw her alive. Now, around this time of her being missing, her loved ones, family, friends were putting up missing flyers, just asking anybody with information on Dacara's whereabouts to contact them. So 9 days later, on August 31st, Maryland State Police reported that they found a woman's body in a wooded area off Route 50 in Anne Arundel County.
Well, Jim and Angie, moments ago, we tried to speak with Dacara Thompson's mother, and Dacara Thompson's mother and father. They don't want to discuss this latest development at this point. Meanwhile, this investigation is continuing. Tonight, Sky Fox hovering near a grassy area off of Route 50 in Annapolis after Maryland State Police discovered the body around 5 o'clock Sunday evening. Right now, Prince George's County Police cannot confirm the body found is 19-year-old Dacara Thompson, but say it does look like her. Investigators are waiting on an autopsy result to confirm. Fox 5 first told you about Dacara's disappearance. When we spoke to her parents last week, they told us the last time they saw Dacara was when she left home in Lanham and said she'd be back.
We found Dacara abandoned, and we found her belongings in the car.
Now, the probable cause statement reveals some really horrifying details about how Dacara met her demise. They said she suffered multiple facial and skull fractures, and police believe she was killed inside a bedroom at a home in Bowie. Now, that home belonged to the 35-year-old Hugo Hernandez-Mendez, and that is the man who is believed to have been driving that black SUV. So I want to read these court statements, and it's going to be kind of long, but I don't want to skip anything. I really want you all to hear the details. You know, the devil is definitely in the details. Mendez, he's going to be referred to as the defendant, and Dacara is going to be referred to as the decedent, which is like the deceased. Okay. And so it says, at this time, the defendant was detained and transported to the Criminal Investigation Division Homicide Unit for further investigation. The black 2007 GMC Yukon XL Denali bearing Maryland registration 6FM8511 was impounded by Ryan's Towing and transported to the Prince George's Evidence Unit for further processing. Detectives had the opportunity to interview the defendant. Detectives advised him of his Miranda rights, at which time he freely and voluntarily waived his rights and elected to speak with detectives. Now, the defendant advised detectives that on August 23rd, 2025, he was at the Galaxy nightclub. Let it be noted that detectives know that the Galaxy nightclub is located at 2301 University Boulevard, Hyattsville, Maryland. Now, this location is directly across the street from where the decedent was observed entering the black 2007 GMC Yukon XL Denali. Furthermore, the defendant advised detectives that he was in possession of the black 2007 GMC Yukon Denali on August 23, 2025 at approximately 0200 hours. The defendant advised he was supposed to meet his ex-girlfriend, but he never did. Now, I don't know if this ex-girlfriend is someone different from Dacara, or if Dacara is the ex-girlfriend. I don't know. He just said he was supposed to meet his ex-girlfriend, but he never did. When detectives questioned further into the investigation, the defendant denied any involvement and asked detectives if he could have a lawyer, and at that time, the interview ended. So he lawyered up. They stopped questioning. So on September 4th, 2025, at approximately 09:05 hours, a residential search warrant was conducted at 12606 Cambridge Drive, Bowie, Prince George's County, Maryland. Detectives made contact with multiple other occupants of the residence whose names are known to police. All occupants of the residence were detained and transported to the Criminal Investigation Division Homicide Unit for further investigation. So they took everybody up. So I'm going to paraphrase some of this because a lot of it is repetitive. So detectives had the opportunity to interview the occupants of the residence. Detectives spoke with witness 1, whose identity is known to police, who advised that it lives at the residence with its family, its cousin, the defendant, and 2 other roommates. The reason why they're saying it and its is because they don't want to say he or she. They don't want to identify. So they're just saying the it. Okay. Witness 1 advised that this Denali was registered to this person who they're interviewing, but the cousin, Mendez, is the one who operates it. And the first witness also said that the cousin Mendez, who's the defendant, has a drinking and drug problem. So now detectives spoke with witness 2, whose identity is known to police, who advised that their room is right next to Mendez's room, and said on August 23rd, they heard Mendez having sex in the early hours. And the witness said that they could hear a grunting noise, which made them believe that someone, this is the line right here for me, wasn't enjoying the sex. So what did that sound like? I'm curious about that, because it could be many different things. It could be the person genuinely was having sex and they just weren't enjoying it. Like they weren't as vocal as the other person was in the excitement. Or it could mean that person was being perhaps attacked or used in a way that would not make them enjoy it. We don't know. That to me was very scary, because if this witness meant it in the sense that the person wasn't enjoying it, like they were being attacked or coerced in any sort of way, it makes me wonder like why they wouldn't like kind of knock on that door and say, hey, what's going on in there? Like, especially if you know that this person has a drinking and drug problem. So one of the things that came out of this court document was also that this witness 2, who's now talking to police, said that they fell asleep. When they later woke up, they went outside and they realized that the car, the Denali, was not outside. And that seemed to have been, well, that was unusual. It was weird because they said the defendant doesn't work on that day. That was August 23rd, which was a Saturday. So it should have been parked outside, but it wasn't. So now detectives spoke with a 3rd witness and a 4th witness who advised that they had no recollection of August 23rd, which is now the Saturday, and that they stay on the opposite side of the house from the defendant. Anyway, so police searched this Cambridge Drive home in Bowie, Maryland, and they found multiple items, multiple pieces of evidence. They located the bedroom in the front side of the house, and they observed some identifying documents that included a social security card, identification card, work pay stubs belonging to Mendez. And when they inspected the bedroom, they found what appears to be suspected blood evidence inside of that bedroom. And they did a blood test that was conducted on the areas with the suspected blood evidence, which yielded positive results. So they found droplets on the defendant's mattress located in the bedroom. A white and pink fake French manicure style fingernail was located on the floor of the bedroom. Oh my God, he was just messy with this. And they noted too that the deceased, Dacara, had a white and pink fake French manicure style fingernails when they found her. But she was missing the white and pink fake French manicure style fingernail on her left middle finger. So detectives reviewed the photo of the deceased, Dacara's white and pink fake French manicure style fingernails, and they identified that the nails in the photo were consistent. They also recovered multiple pairs of women's underwear and lingerie. So now I'm wondering if these multiple pairs of underwear and lingerie from one person or multiple people. These questions are just popping up inside of my head. And they also found red hairs. And when they looked at the surveillance footage, Dacara appeared to be wearing a red wig. So now on September 4th, police got their search warrant to search this Denali.
On September 4th, several search warrants were obtained and executed pertaining to this case, which led detectives to obtain enough probable cause to take Hugo Hernandez-Mendez into custody and present him to the court commissioner for the murder of Dacara Thompson. We believe the murder occurred in the home on Cambridge Drive in Hernandez's bedroom. Her body was taken to the location that it was recovered at by Hernandez. At this time, there are no additional suspects. However, this investigation is ongoing.
I know that the public has been following this case closely, and oftentimes our community does not understand the legal process and roles of each member of our legal team, of our law enforcement team. So as State's Attorney for Prince George's, I'm here this morning to explain the legal process and next steps. The police have charged Mr. Hernandez-Mendez, as you've heard, with murder and related charges. He has appeared before a commissioner, a judicial officer, and that commissioner has determined that there is probable cause to support the charges, and he was held without bond. It is important to remind our residents, and I want to do this always, that any person who is charged with a crime in Prince George's is entitled to due process through our judicial system, and it's my job as the state's attorney to ensure that the justice occurs, but that the processes are transparent and fair and in full accordance with the law.
It's not looking good for homeboy. It's not looking good. You're here illegally. He was already stopped before for a DUI, and then he was released. Why? I do not know. All the evidence is inside this bedroom that he occupied. Evidence is inside the car that he exclusively drove, according to the family members. It's a wrap. It just goes on. And it's just really, really sad. Just for context, Dacara was very petite. I don't know if you guys saw the video of her, but even like missing persons photo has her listed as being 5'2" tall. She weighed like 100 and something pounds, like just very, very petite young lady. And I can't imagine like what that would have been like in the final moments, struggling with this man who was just a monster. Hearing them tell the details about her having facial and skull fractures was really hard to process. And according to charging documents, Hernandez-Mendez allegedly placed her body into a plastic bin, drove it into the woods, and dumped her remains off a bridge into the South River. The reason why I go back to the fact that the roommate heard the banging noises and it was so distressing and disturbing for me is because they had an opportunity to intervene. You know your cousin or whoever the heck this man is a druggie and a drunk. And I would bet everything I have that he had a violent temper long before we discovered this with Dacara. They knew that. And nobody at any time hit on that door or broke down that door to say, hey, like to help this girl. Nobody. There are so many theories that are circulating right now about how these two know each other. People are questioning whether she was manipulated into getting into a car. Others, and I happen to be one of them, believes that she knew him. She knew him. She had to have known him. I don't know anyone who at those hours in the morning, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, they call it like demon time, when you really should be inside your house and in your bed safely, unless you are already out coming from the club or you were working and now you're just stopping to get some gas. I don't know people who leave their house after being in their home to go out to get gas for their car. They don't do that typically. They just don't. And she left and she seemed very comfortable walking from her car. It wasn't any sort of hesitation. She had the presence of mind to put on her lock on her car. And she walked to that car and she left with him. This is just one of those strange cases And I'm really curious to know what the motive was behind all of this. It's sad that the people who were right there when they heard the struggle happening didn't do anything. They didn't intervene. I know some folks were like, well, that's not their business. They might have just been in there having rough sex. It's not their business to intervene. But if you're going to then say to police that it sounded like someone wasn't enjoying it, that sends off a red flag for me. So that's when you're knocking on the door to check. But I'm not going to blame anyone other than the person who did this to Dacara. That's who takes 100% of the blame. The person who decided to take her life, put her in a bin and dump her like she was nothing in the woods. And I don't know if he thought that she wouldn't have been found or what, but I cannot even imagine like the struggle or what was going through her mind in that last moment. And she seemed to have had at least a solid relationship with her father to at least text him. And thank God she did. So he had at least something to go off of. But I think police know way more. I know police know way more than they're letting on. And it will come out as the case goes on further and as this goes to court. Because a lot of the answers can come from the people who were in that home. But to be honest with you, a lot of the answers will come from Dacara herself. And I know you might be like, how is it going to come from Dacara? She's no longer with us. But Dacara had a phone. And police, I'm sure they have ways of going through. Even if you deleted everything, they could recover things on your phone. We know that. Ain't nothing. Once you send it through the phone or the internet, it's there forever. They're going to always get something. So they know the relationship or the connection that these two had. They know this stuff. For me, all I'm saying is, based on what I've witnessed so far, it's clear that these two knew each other. This was not a woman walking up to a random car, because most women, let me tell you something, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, someone calls us over to a car. And especially if we just went out to go get gas, who are you calling me at this dark car? What do you want? We're not going over willingly. If anything, we hopping back in our car to go somewhere, to drive off. We're not going to go, and we're certainly not going to get inside of a car unless someone's pointing a weapon at our faces. That's not going to happen. But drop your comments down below. I know this was a very long video. I really am one of those people who's very concerned and curious to know what happened that night. And again, it's very sad for the family members, and my condolences do go out to the family members. This is a tragedy. Nobody wants to find their child like that. Nobody, especially, it's like when your kid is missing, and then you start to hold out hope, like, they're going to walk through the door. You're going to hear a call from the police. They're going to be like, we got her. She's fine. Because that happens sometimes. People go missing, and then, they show up weeks later, days later, years later. Elizabeth Smart, So you don't want to lose hope. But then when the police calls and says, listen, we found a body. And then you're like, please don't let that be my kid. And then it is. It's heartbreaking. And it's not easy, again, on the family, to hear all the speculation, but that comes with the territory. People are curious because this is just operating outside of the norm. This is not normal. Anyway, before I end this video, I want to read some of your comments, because some of you, I had posted something in my community page, and some of you weighed in on it. So let me just read some of your comments. This first one says, out on bail on DUI and nobody contacts ICE because of Maryland law. Another Maryland man. That's from Aaron's 1034. Miss Diane 25 said, they released him? How is he not a flight risk when this isn't even his country? Leanne Russum says, wow, the system makes me sick. He shouldn't be in the country, much less out on bond. Dr. McNinja, Sixth Gun, says, I'm tired of women getting kidnapped, raped, and killed by known criminals. Stop letting criminals out. There's probably a history of his issues with women. I'd be surprised if this was his first strike. And that's another thing that I'm thinking, like, for him, he was a sloppy one. If he, this was sloppy. And it does raise, like, a question in my mind if this was the first kill. This would be so, you know what? They really do need to do some serious digging into this guy, investigating everything about him to see who this man and who he is and what he may have done. Dre Harden says the chorus of Democrats screaming "protect black women" are loudly silent on this one. Let me just say I was pleased that this got a lot of national attention, because a lot of times when black women get hurt or go missing, and I don't care who gets offended by this is the truth. This is the truth. A lot of times when black women go missing, it's not a priority. It doesn't get the attention that it deserves. This one definitely got a lot of attention. A lot. Southern Lady-ish says, this makes me sick. She was such a beautiful young lady. She had the whole world in front of her, all for some monster who wasn't supposed to be in this country to decide to end her life. What an absolute piece of garbage. My heart hurts so much for her family and friends. Truly, I pray that God will his loving arms around each one of them. This should not have happened, period. And shame on those politicians who would rather fight to protect illegals like this monster rather than fighting to protect innocent U.S. citizens. I don't understand how anyone could back these politicians. I don't care which side they're on. The safety and well-being of U.S. citizens should always be their top priority, period. Rest in peace, beautiful. She was a beautiful girl. Kareem0525 says, I'm in Oxon Hill. This story pisses me off. Yeah. It's not far, you know. It's not far from D.C. So Rocco Wilson 2320 says, this is truly sad and heartbreaking, but if the killer was a citizen, would it somehow make this not feel quite as bad? Would it even be post-worthy? I never understood posts like this. It reads like selective outrage. Some people just plain awful human beings. These stories merely show the ugliness of humanity. I still enjoy your content. Hopefully you don't take this the wrong way. I don't take it the wrong way at all. Rocco, thank you for your comment. It's heartbreaking either way, if the person were an American born and raised or a person was illegal. But the reality is, I have an issue with people coming into this country who are not properly vetted. Yes, it would still be an outrage if an American man killed this girl, put her in a plastic bin and dumped her body in the woods over a bridge. Absolutely. You'd think people wouldn't be outraged by that? That is sick. But again, it just goes to the point of people saying, hey, we're having these individuals who are coming into the country and we don't know who they are. I'm a foreigner. I had to get extensively vetted over the years, and I'm sure I was watched. Is that fair for someone to just come on in and the police got them at one point because they had a DUI and nothing came of it? Had he been caught that time, this might not have happened. So another person, Han Conservative 83, responded to that person and said, it still would be bad, for it shows how our justice system is failing, for they arrested him and had him, but due to many states with no cash bail laws, it all but allows for repeat offenders to just get arrested over and over, sometimes in the same day, for they know they wouldn't be held accountable. In this case, it just makes it that much harder, knowing that because of the sanctuary laws and the police aren't allowed to work with ICE. So instead of holding him and notifying them or honoring the detainer, they allowed him out on bail, which then allowed him to take the life of a young, beautiful woman who had her whole life ahead of her. If the justice system worked like it was supposed to, she would be alive today. And that's the problem, and what hurts so many of the families that have to live without their lost family members, especially their children, knowing that if only our politicians cared more about protecting our people over that of their own political party ideology, their own loved ones would still be with them. Many many wouldn't have lost their lives in such violent, brutal, and or horrific circumstances that no parent should have to ever endure. This person goes on and they nailed it. That sums it all up for me. It sums it all up for me. This could have been prevented if this guy just weren't on the street. Drop your comments down below. I look forward to seeing you all in my next video. Again, condolences to the family. Again, this is in no way blaming the victim. She is a victim. And she died in one of the worst possible ways. And I don't even want to know the pain that the family feels right now. That is their baby. And she was 19. That is a baby. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.